makeshift. So we've just come back from essentially 3 months on the road. So we spent June and July over in mainland Europe, in Italy, France, Switzerland, all those cool places. Did a bunch of races, rode with a bunch of cool people, and just had a great time. August we spent over in Canada, in Whistler, for the Enduro World Series race and for Crankworks as well. And then we went down to California for a race, an Enduro World Series race in North Star, which was eye-opening, which was really great, really good to experience everything. And now we're back, it's September, and we're back in Scotland. Whilst we were away, I got a number of questions from people asking about, all these questions were being asked in different forms, but essentially they were all asking the same question, which was like, how do you prepare and how do you then go and race an Enduro World Series event or series, depending on what you want to do. So I thought I'd make a video today on sharing with you guys how you can prepare yourselves if you want to race an Enduro World Series event or series. So first things first, like we're coming to the end of 2019 now. There's the final round this year is in Zermatt, Switzerland. After that, that's pretty much the Enduro World Series finished for the 2019 season. So what you first want to be thinking about is, when I got into Enduro 2 years ago, well, this is actually my first full season. Last year we kind of dipped our toes in the water and had a go at a couple of the events and see if we enjoyed it or not. And one of the first things I would say you have to think about is planning longer term and thinking about what you actually want to do and why you want to do it. Last year I wanted to do just a select few events, and I decided that way before we actually went to them. This year I kind of decided like 2 months into the year that I was going to commit and do the full season. So that changed plans a little bit, but we still managed to do a good mix of enduro racing, and we also did a bit of adventure riding too. So I would take a look at if you head over to EnduroWorldSeries.com, and there's a full calendar list there of the 2020 season. That's if you want to race in 2020, that is. I would take a look at the calendar and ask yourself first, do you want to race a full season, or do you want to prioritize certain events within that season? Because that can affect how you prepare from this point going forward. And then from that, you can also calculate a budget and how much it's going to cost you to go to these races. From experience and from this year that's just gone, I can tell you how much my year costed and how much that might give you kind of like a ballpark figure to figure out how much you want to budget for the events. Mountain biking and racing isn't what it used to be in terms of how much entries costed. Like when I started racing downhill mountain bikes, you could usually get a race entry for 40 or 50 pounds. But just with inflation and the way that the whole world is going, everything has just gone, the price of everything has gone sky high. If the price is the same as 2019, you're probably looking between 100 and 170 pounds, UK British pounds, per race at the Enduro World Series. That's a fair chunk in entry fees just to start with. The good thing about that is though, that literally as soon as you get to the event, everything has pretty much been sorted for you, and I can feel that. Like, so when you go to one of these events, you know you've paid your 150, 160 pounds, whatever the entry fee is, and you get there, you arrive at the event, everything is kind of sorted out for you already. Sure, you have to go and sort your own accommodation out, your own food and stuff, but there are certain perks that you do get. Like when you sign on, they don't just give you a number board. At some of the events we got like a nice hat, a t-shirt, some socks, some local stuff, so whether it was like a local food product or something cool like that. So you do kind of feel you get a bit more for your money in that respect. And then throughout the weekend they've also got all sorts of stuff going on. Obviously if it's a chairlifted assisted event, usually your chairlift price or gondola tickets are included in that price you pay the entry fee. Now this year costed me, God, we should put a drum roll in here. So this year probably costed me to race the Enduro World Series about probably £12,000 all in. So that's, we've been to pretty much flown around the world to race bikes. So we started off in New Zealand, we went to Tasmania, we then flew to Madeira, we then went to Italy for Canazei, we went to Les Orz in France, we went to Whistler in Canada, and then we went to North Star in America, and then obviously the next round, the final round, is in Zermatt, Switzerland. So you can imagine flight prices, X, Y, Z, it starts to all add up. But that's just to give you an idea of how much I've put towards my racing, and to give you kind of like a starting point, whether you want to do full series or you want to do just a couple of events to get going. So now we've talked a bit more about we've covered the planning side of things. Now it's worth talking about preparing yourself, because I think this is really important. From experience, I wouldn't just jump straight into one of these races like a few weeks before and yeah, sweet, I'll just go and race an Enduro World Series race. I think that's a completely wrong approach. If you want to race in 2020, say, I'd give yourself at least 6 months to think about how you're going to prepare yourself both physically and mentally for the events, because the Enduro World Series events are the kind of, at the minute, they're the pinnacle of what you can race on an enduro bike. It's like the Downhill World Cup of enduro. You can't really get much more high level. Like, you're racing with pro athletes. It's not like you're in a separate category or you race on different days. No, you're racing against the likes of Sam Hill, you're racing against the likes of Martin Mays, Richie Rude, you name all those names. You're being pulled into the same pot as everybody else. So it's pretty cool from that respect, but it's also, that could be a mental challenge as well, depending on how, how your mind works. So we'll talk about the physical prep first, and we'll go into the mental side of things. So physical prep, talking about like getting yourself physically healthy, physically fit and capable of actually racing and getting around an event and actually enjoying it, because these events, like last year, there was a few Enduro World Series events which were extremely challenging. People had to pull out the race because they weren't making their transition times, they weren't really enjoying it, and they probably weren't up to like Enduro World Series fitness level. Last year I took a more different approach and a more committed approach. So I started training for 2019 back in the winter or October time of 2018. So I had October, November, December, January, about 5-6 months of actual solid work of building a foundation of strength that was going to help me race my bike. And obviously there's a number of different coaches out there you could choose. I personally went with a coach or a business called Fit for Racing, which is run by Johnny, who is based in the Lake District, training the likes of Adam Brayton, Meg White, and there's a number of other athletes he now has on board, and the style of workouts he has are more CrossFit orientated, if you know what that is. So they're quite high intensity workouts. You're not in the gym for any more than an hour, 3 to 4 times a week. Johnny's all about getting you on your bike and getting you physically fit for racing your bike, hence the name Fit for Racing. I'll put a link on the screen now or in the description as well, where you can go and check out him. Again, fantastic coach, would recommend him to anybody who wants to get fit for racing enduro or downhill, for that matter. He has 2 different programs for downhill and enduro, so go check him out. So talking about being physically fit as well and physically prepared for the race. No matter where you're from in the world, I'm recording this now from the UK, and I'm in Leithen, so we have a great training ground for riding and prepping for racing. There's a number of different tracks we can go and practice on and emulate a race situation, which is what I think you need to be doing if you want to race at Enduro World Series level. What is an Enduro World Series like? How do you emulate an Enduro World Series race at your local mountain bike place? The good thing about Leithen, if you've ever been, they do hold a number of smaller races here which are quite a good preparation for the racing. Just to give you an idea of how long these events are in terms of day by day, a normal Enduro World Series day, it varies between, you could be going out for a day for about 20 kilometers of riding on your bike, or it could be as much as 35-40 kilometers a day on your bike, which we actually had last year in Largs, which ironically was my first Enduro World Series race. I'll put a link on the screen now so you can go and check that out, but that was a fairly eye-opening experience to say the least, mainly because the actual race itself was so long in terms of the distance we were on our bikes. Some of the races this year we've been to are mainly chairlift assisted, so take for example Whistler, Canazei in Italy, Les Ors in France was fairly chairlift assisted. A lot of these were a lot less kilometers on the bike, a lot less elevation in terms of how much you had to pedal uphill. I thought that was going to make the race easy, but that's not the case at all. When a race ends up like that from the past, especially Canazei in Italy. Canazei in Italy was one of the more physical races of the year in my opinion. It wasn't an extremely long event in terms of how long we were pedaling on the bike, but the stages were brutal. Physical, steep, rocky, rough, they really did challenge you physically. But again, other events are more, you are pedaling a long way and there is a lot of transition climbing to do, like La Tuile in Italy last year, or Slovenia and Austria last year. They had a lot of pedaling involved between getting from the race venue to the stages and between the stages. So you're generally out on the bike for, I'd probably say in a day at an Enduro World Series, you're probably on the bike for between 4 and 6 hours, average. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it can be less. When you're thinking about preparing for an Enduro World Series race, I would take that into mind and even get yourself like something to track how long you're riding for, like a Garmin, or there's heaps of little units out there you can use. I would be looking to try and emulate that as much as possible. Sometimes, yes, you might not be able to in terms of time constraints, but you can start building no matter where you're from in terms of what level you're starting from to prepare from. So just keep that in mind. So then we'll move on to like actual riding. And obviously you still want to enjoy your riding. You've also got to keep in your mind that you are preparing for a race. You don't want to turn up to a race. Again, this is what a lot of people do. Maybe not professional riders, because professional riders are, or people, even people who are just more committed than other people. You'll find with the general population of people who are riding bikes, they go out to ride their bikes. They don't go out to race their bikes. So going as fast as they can and pedaling in between each corner and trying to find speed on different bits of the track isn't really on their agenda. They're just out to have a good time. If you are out to prepare for a race, I would advise thinking about splitting your riding sessions up into riding sessions and performance sessions, which is another tip I picked up from Ian Warby at Firecrest Coaching. If anyone's interested in coaching, I'll put a description below. That's the guy I got coached from. And he basically said to me that split your ride into riding and performance sessions. The riding sessions are when you just go out and you kind of forget about what's going on. You just go out for a ride and you enjoy riding. Performance sessions, of course you still enjoy riding, but it's more performance based. So he told me to think about a specific part of your bike, whether it be suspension, it could be your fitness, it could be how your bike is riding, or a specific type of track, any kind of aspect of mountain biking or racing, and focus on that and really think about what's going on and try and improve that part of your racing riding. Another good way to prepare for racing is to put yourself in a race environment. So you could do timed runs, you could potentially use Strava, fast laps of stages on your local hill. I don't use Strava, but I know a lot of people do use it because it's great for tracking stuff like this and actually putting yourself in that racer mentality. So that's kind of like the physical side of things. We could discuss this all day. We could discuss the physical prep for an enduro racer for days. I'm going to keep it pretty simple there. I want to just touch upon the mental preparation as well, because that's quite an important piece of the puzzle, because also that will determine as well what kind of racer you are and then what kind of category you want to enter at the Enduro World Series, because they have different categories in the race. So there's three main categories. You have the Enduro World Series, the main event. That's the race that all pro athletes race. Then you have the Enduro World Series 100, or the EWS 100, which is the same as the Enduro World Series, but you don't have any transition times. So if you are just out to give this a crack and you want to just do one or two events, my advice would be to jump in and do the EWS 100. When you don't have transition times, that's one less thing for you to think about, one less thing for you to worry about. You can actually ride around with whoever you want and actually have a good time. The Enduro World Series 80 event is kind of like, it's 80% of what the EWS would race. It's 80% of the full day. So you're still doing a fair bit of racing, but this is kind of like for people who want to just dip their foot in and see what it's like, but not, not at as an intense level as the top guys are racing, or even the EWS 100. So there's all, there's a mix of different categories depending on where you're at and what level you're at and what you want to do. Just as a point, so the mental prep, again, you've got to ask yourself, are you a fully dedicated person to racing bikes, or do you just want to have a crack at racing every now and again? I enjoy racing to the point where I'm fully committed to training to it, I'm fully committed to doing the full season, and that's all my focus is. But if you just want to dip your toe in the water, I'd consider looking at the EWS 80 or the EWS 100 if it's your first time. We'll talk about race prep now, because if you want to race the Enduro World Series main event, as of now, as of recording this video, you have to qualify for the event. And the way you qualify for the event is by doing smaller continental, national, or even regional events that hold EWS qualifying points. Now you go to those events and they're all around the country, in a lot of countries around the world. You obviously race there, and then depending on how well you do, you gather EWS points, which those points go into a ranking system. And I think as of recording this video, or at the start of this year, you had to be in the top 300 global ranking position to race in the Enduro World Series event. It doesn't mean if you get into that top 300 that you are there in the top 300 all year, because if you think there's races going on all year round, even Enduro World Series events, where people are constantly adding points to their global ranking, which could essentially push you out of the top 300. So you have to almost keep topping those points up until you have enough, until you're in there. Once you are in the inside the top 300 and you've qualified, you've got enough points. I can't remember off the top of my head there's no specific number as to how many points you need, because obviously the top 300 is always changing, so that number is always changing of how many points you need. So it's almost worth going onto the EnduroWorldSeries.com website and checking out the details on there, because they can probably give you the full details on that. If you are outside the top 300, you'll automatically be entered into the EWS 100 category. And another point to remember here as well, if you want to race the EWS, you also have to go on and get a membership. So you need Enduro World Series membership as well as a British cycling membership. That's if you're from Britain. You need a cycling license from your country. So in the UK, these are about £70 where we're from. But you need one of them to have a UCI. You need a UCI number to race the Enduro World Series, otherwise they won't let you in. So consider that as well. You do need a race license if you want to race in the main event. Now we'll just briefly touch on your prep in terms of your bike, because you can't just turn up at one of these races on a cross-country bike or a trail bike. You have to do specific things to give yourself the best chance that your bike will actually survive through the weekend. You can see these stickers. These are little white stickers with your number on from the race. And in the race, you put these on your front and rear wheel, your front and rear triangle, and your fork uppers. And at no point in the race are you allowed to change those stickers. And if you do, you get a time penalty. I'm not too sure what the time penalties are, but from experience, I had a friend at North Star who busted a wheel, had to change a wheel in the race, and got a 3-minute penalty. And if you get a 3-minute penalty in a race, you kind of, you're not going to be competitive if you get a 3-minute time penalty, really. You've got to think about preparing your bike. You want your bike to be a good ride and you want it to actually get through the weekend. The way we do that and prep your bike, I would show you my bike now, but it's actually in the stand behind the camera with just the front end of the bike in a bike stand because I'm actually working on it. Wheels, I would definitely consider getting some tyre inserts. So they go inside your tyres. They basically protect against snake punctures and puncturing the tyres. Extremely, highly recommend you get some of these. There's a couple of companies that do them. You've got Cushcore, which are fairly expensive. There's Rimpact, and there's also Nukeproof ARD systems, and they'll do a great job. I personally use Nukeproof's ARD system. Again, I'll put a link below so you can check those out. Highly recommend getting some of those if you want to consider racing Enduros. Rotor sizes. This is a 203mm rotor. I have a 203mm rotor on the back and a 203mm rotor on the front. That, if you ask some people who live in the UK, they'd tell you that's a lot. That's too big. If you're racing around the world, and I can guarantee you would definitely want to get as big a rotors and as strong or as most powerful brakes as you can, because if you're doing 10-15 minute stages, the last thing you want is your brakes to overheat and not work. So think about rotor size. I'd go for the biggest rotor you can. I'd also make sure you got one of these in your bike. This is a drop post. If you're going to be doing a lot of pedaling, you need the seat to go up and down without you having to adjust it. Get one if you've not got one. I run Fox 36 forks on the front and a Fox DPX X2 air shock on the back. You want some big forks, or I suppose every bike is different, but you want a pair of solid forks that are reliable. And the good thing about Fox and sometimes RockShox is that because they're big brands, a lot of these brands come to the event to support racers. So if you do have a problem at the race, Fox are always there to help out, which is great as a racer. I'd also consider getting one of these as well. This is a bash guard to go underneath your chainring. You are going to be riding over some pretty rough terrain when you race Enduro World Series, and you want to do as much as you can to protect your bike. Chain guide is a great way to do this. 95% of bikes out there have chain guides. I definitely recommend you get a chain guide for the top and a bash guard for the bottom. And finally, we'll talk about tyres. Don't skimp on tyres. You want some decent quality tyres that have plenty of grip. Obviously, it depends what kind of terrain you're racing in, but I run WTB tyres. They have a range of tyres, obviously. Hashtag blade and plug. The good thing about having a good set of tyres is you want to think about the sidewall protection that you have and the casing of the tyre. So it needs to be as thick as possible to prevent from pinch flats, slashing the tyre, slashing the sidewall, and even denting your rim and loosening your spokes and stuff. Stay with one brand of tyre that you're happy with and you know the feel of, that you know is going to protect your bike through the racing. So that's pretty much it. I mean, we could go on forever talking about different parts of this, but let me know if this video has been useful to you. If there's any specific question you've got, drop the comments below and I'll get back to you ASAP. Maybe I'll do another video. If you guys like this, let me know below as well if you want to learn a bit more about how to prepare at an Enduro World Series race. So like what kind of stuff to take to the event, what kind of stuff that you should take around racing with you, kind of that kind of thing. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one, or maybe I'll even see you at the Enduro World Series in 2020.